Music is all around us. It is the universal language. It evokes many feelings and is something to be shared and celebrated. You have found a place where all kinds of music will be celebrated. So welcome. You are tuned in to the Zen Sessions, presented by Here to Zen magazine.
This episode we're joined by Ross Jennings, who you may know from the band Halen, but Ross is about to be seen in a much more different light. His first solo album drops November 19. He's here today to have a chat with us about it. How are you doing, Ross?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So Shadows of My Future Self is the name of the new album. Why the decision now to go and do a solo record?
Yeah, well, the obvious answer to that was the pandemic giving me the luxury of time to actually focus on doing this. Actually, I would have done this record eventually, but the circumstances were such that it made the process a lot easier for me to actually knuckle down and do this. But also at the time I was going through a bunch of emotions and I had a lot to say and write about, and all this stuff just started flooding in, you know. So it was really just a perfect marriage of timing and getting it done. Yeah.
You mentioned emotions. So when we all listen to records, well, I call it a record. When we listen to records, they evoke certain emotions depending on the song, the band, so many things. But it's also the same as the creator. So what emotions, if you had to pick 3 different emotions that were the most prevalent on this album, what would they be?
Yeah, I was going through a bunch of heartbreak kind of stuff, relationship issues, you know, struggles, and I guess trying to sort of balance my work life and family life and that kind of stuff was all coming to the surface. So yeah, it was a tense time. That was another word I'd use. There was a lot of tension, and I think that was being felt on a global level as well. But also, I think a lot of people were going through this personally as well. And
yeah.
So yeah, these were the kind of things that were cropping up, and like I said, I just gave me all this sort of fuel to start writing, and it just came through very naturally.
It's quite a departure from Halen.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be taken a bit by surprise. There's elements of singer-songwriter. There's elements of a bit of alternative. There's a bit of Americana to me in there. What are some of your influences as a songwriter when you detach yourself from the band?
Yeah, so like you said, it's a very eclectic record, and it was a deliberate intention for it to be a very separate entity to Halen, for example. So I figured if I was going to write prog rock metal music, then I might as well have just sort of written for Halen. But this had to be different for me, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to express myself. And a lot of the influences that I grew up with, and it seemed, you know, as a solo record should be, it's reveals a more authentic self, you know, authentic Ross Jennings, you know, so rather than a collective bunch of musicians. So yeah, I mean, I grew up heavily influenced by sort of the early 90s. MTV was on all the time, you know. I'm a big Aerosmith fan. You know, Kiss, I can see you've got Kiss in the background. That's you know, one influence. Journey, Whitesnake, you know, even Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, that kind of stuff. So it all that kind of stuff has a part to play on this record, I would say. But there's other angles as well. You know, I'm quite fond of certainly the British indie rock scene. So I'm a huge Radiohead fan. There's touches of Elbow and Coldplay, which shouldn't put you off, but yeah, I'm a big fan of all those guys, and some of those influences seep through as well. So yeah, it was important for me to touch on all those, and yeah, I think it works really well. It's a very eclectic mix. But yes, don't go in expecting the chaotic riffs that you might hear on a Halen record. It was really about me as a songwriter and my voice, and that's where it spawns from.
Yeah, I love the fact that a lot of these songs, even Haken's songs do as well, but a lot of these songs have a lot more breathing room in them. There's a lot more space for the listener to pick up on the different emotions. So when you sit down to write a song, are you sitting down with the end journey in mind, or I'm just going to see what comes out?
I would say the latter mostly. It's the songwriting has been a very different approach to what I've been used to in recent years, whereby the focus would be on the details first, and then the kind of overall song would come later. Whereas for this record, for me, it was more about strumming out a piece of music that works as a song that can be performed on an acoustic guitar really effectively, and then develop it from there, really. And that's yielded very different results, actually, to what you might find in Haken. So yeah, Haken music's very intricate, but the reason for that is that it does start with those intricate details.
Now, do you sit with the intent to write a song? Like, do you go, okay, today I'm going down, I'm going to write some songs, or will you be walking around your house and be that guy that grabs the phone really quickly and puts the record function on and jots it all down?
It was a little bit of both. I did set the intention to write, so I almost treated it like a day job in a sense, where right, I've got these hours here. I'm gonna see what comes out. If nothing comes out, fine, whatever. But it might transfer to the next day. But there have been plenty of occasions where I might just get a melody and I'll just have to stop what I'm doing,
Yep.
and go, right, I've just got to get this down, because I mean, I've lost count of the number of times that's happened, and I haven't got it down, and it's just been lost into the ether, and that makes me sad. So I really wanted to make sure that I didn't miss those opportunities this time around.
Where's the weirdest place a melodies come to you?
Yeah, they're normally when you're at your most tired. I find so, like, just before going to bed or something, or in the middle of the night. So yeah, that's for me is when it happens. But yeah, always when you're not trying to come up with a melody.
Yep. Now, with the songs on the album, what song is the oldest song on the album? What song is the newest song in terms of being written?
Yeah, the oldest one is a track called Third Degree, which I used to call The Person You Are, but I changed the name. And that's a song I probably wrote when I was about 18, so that's half a lifetime ago for me. And I almost left it off the album, but I've just felt that it was important to kind of capture that era of me as a songwriter, and I think I developed that one and added a lot more string sections and stuff like that, and I think it's really effective, and that's more of a self-indulgent personal thing for me to have that song on the record. I think it's a really nice one.
What about the newest?
The newest one was Catcher in the Rye. I think I was about to sort of draw a line on what songs would be on the record, and sort of close the book on my demos and say, right, this is the album. And then that one just kind of came to me at the very last minute, as if to say, you're not done. You've got someone tapping me on the shoulder saying, you've got one more song to put on this record. And it was one of those situations where it was kind of written in 15 minutes. You hear that a lot from artists,
Yep.
the ones that take a very short amount of time, and that was one of those. Yeah, it's like almost like a divine intervention to ensure that song made it onto the record, and it is actually one of my favorites in the end. So.
And it's got a special meaning behind it. So tell everyone tuning in the meaning behind the song.
Oh, well, The Catcher in the Rye is about a friend who passed away. This is over 10 years ago now, but he remains very special to me and in my memory. And it's The Catcher in the Rye is the title of the book that he lent to me the last time I saw him before he passed. The sad part about the story was I never got to go to his funeral. I was away in a different country at the time, and it still remains. I carry this guilt, and I guess I felt like writing the song gave me a bit of closure. But yeah, this a nice way to tribute an old friend.
Cool. And when it comes to the songs, was there a song that changed the most from the initial demo process to the finished product?
Let me see. I think probably Words We Can't Unsay might fall under that bracket, because that started off almost as like a country song, but I evolved that heavily to include more sort of sounds that were related to 80s pop music, and kind of carried. It was in the end, it was driven by that sound rather than anything that remotely country. But so yeah, I would say that one evolved the most out of all the tracks. Yeah.
And have we got any special guests on the album?
So I have a core band that I used. Simon Sandnes is an old friend from Norway who plays drums on the record. Nathan Navarro is Devin Townsend's current bass player, who plays on the record as well, and Vikram Shankar, who's known for his work in a new project called Silent Skies, and he's in the band Redemption as well. So, yeah, these guys brought their A game and helped me embellish this record and make it sound what it is. So, but I didn't go for any kind of huge names, special guests, no like no super secret guitar soloists, and this was more about me proving to myself that I could actually do this. So yeah, maybe in a future record I'll be more open to special guests, but yeah, this was more of a cathartic thing for myself. Yeah.
Were any of the songs actually presented to Halen before moving to a solo record?
In essence, all these songs were written for this purpose, but there's been a few times where I tried to weave in a chorus into a totally different Halen song, and yeah, I mean, usually it just wouldn't work because it wasn't designed for that. But I've always liked to, because I never knew if I was going to make this record really. So the songs that I write on the side, I usually try and integrate into Halen records, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in the end, no, all these songs were meant to be on this record.
Cool. We talk about the pandemic a lot with artists bringing out, because we're getting a lot of music at the moment. So
oh my god, you're telling me that this has been one of the best years. I can't even come up with like a top 10 because honestly, there's been so much good stuff. It's
is there anything that's actually standing out?
There's just an abundance of it. Like, I mean, as you know, I listen to a lot of different stuff, so it's all coming through in the country world. The Chris Stapleton record this year was really good. Been listening to Spirit Box and Sleep Token, like crazy good albums from those guys, from the new end of the scene. And I've been sort of diving deep into the new Mastodon record lately, and among other. I mean, there's been so much I can't even remember now. It's just like hard to compartmentalize it. But yeah, the quality has been stunning this year. Really good.
Do you think that that's going to change the way that writers and artists look into making future product, and maybe not wait the 4 or 5 years between putting out albums, and get a bit more out?
It's hard to say, and I think I don't know how I feel about it, because when does it become too much, for a consumer as well?
Yeah.
Because I like the gap, because then you have that anticipation and then you can get excited about a record, and but when there's too much, it's quite easy nowadays, especially with streaming being the sort of the primary way people listen to music, is that you can just listen to 1-2 tracks and then move on, And I found myself doing that, and I hate that, because I'm usually an advocate for sitting down with a vinyl and listening through in my headphones, and old school. But times are changing a bit, and I want to hear it all. There's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, and I guess for me as a consumer, I'm not a fan of people that put out multiple singles, because it's always produced by someone different. So when they try to put an end product together. There's no cohesiveness. So I'm an
Right.
album and a vinyl guy. So
Yeah.
you know, what's the last vinyl you bought?
The well, I just recently got the Muse reissue of Origin of Symmetry. I know that's been out a while, but it was just the last one I bought. I do collect a lot of CDs though as well, so I'm not just a vinyl guy. And probably the last one I picked up was the latest Dream Theater album, which I think is phenomenal. Actually, it's a real return to form. So yeah, trying to keep up, but like that's the other thing with all this music coming out is the amount of money I need to spend on product, and I can see why streaming is better for the consumer in that case, because then you can you just have it all for $9.99 a month or whatever it is your end. But anyway, here I come with a 78-minute album. I expect you all to listen to it all the way through.
That's perfect. 78 minutes. You're filling up the entire CD, so to speak.
Yeah, I didn't want to waste any plastic, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a lot to say, and I figured this would, who knows? I've got more material in the bank, but this might be the only time I'd get to do this. So I wanted to make it count, and make a big impact with it, and put as much material on there as possible. And it's not your average sort of length of a pop record.
But, no, as a consumer, I'd prefer to be full with music than go. Oh, it's I'm a kid of the '70s, and there's a couple of CDs. I've got like a Kiss one that goes for like 25 minutes. So
right.
I'd rather the 78 minutes. I'd rather be taken on the journey. So I'm glad.
That's what I've delivered. So hopefully, there are others out there that share your sentiment.
Yeah. Are you planning to look at doing some shows to support, restrictions, allowing?
Yeah, so I'd cautiously booked some acoustic solo shows in the UK. What I'd really like to do is put the band together, and depending on how successful this record is, I'd love to come and perform these tracks as a full band. That would be the dream. So watch this space. Yeah.
Plans for any other singles or videos?
So there's one more video for a track called Rocket Science, which will drop on the release day, November 19th.
Okay.
So yeah, there's that's 6 singles in total, but
perfect.
But they're all produced at the same time, so
exactly
they should flow.
And any final words for everyone checking us out tonight?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for listening tonight. Obviously, if you're planning on checking out the record, thank you in advance. Don't necessarily expect Halen. Obviously, you have my voice, but it's a very different outlet, and approach it with an open mind. And I really hope you enjoy it and it becomes your guilty pleasure for 2021.
Awesome, Ross. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll look forward to release day.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and thanks for listening. Cheers.
Have a good night. Bye. Okay, today we're talking with Alex from Rhapsody of Fire. Okay, and new album, Glory for Salvation, is out November 26. How do you feel about being only a week or so out from the album release?
Finally, after 2 years of working on it, it's the right time. Yeah, very happy.
When did you start piecing together songs for the album?
2 years ago. 2 years. 24 months prior to the release.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's your second album with your new vocalist. How do you feel that dynamic is within the band coming into another new album?
Yeah, well, Giacomo has been with us since 5 years now, and it's incredible. It's I can say that the first time I met him, we did the choirs for Into the Legend, and I realized he was a great singer with also potential margin for improvements, and he showed up. He really showed that. And Yet Mountain is a fantastic album. He sings like really amazingly, but you can hear that album after album is improving, and also we are working harder. We like to challenge ourselves. I like to challenge him, and he as well like to challenge himself. And so we did a lot of vocals, and we took care about a lot of details and work on vocal harmonies a lot. So yeah, both. It's like talent and improvement, but also we challenge ourselves to do better.
And do you find that when you're in the situation where you're coming and helping someone craft their vocal lines and their melodies, that he is a lot more open to suggestion and comes in also with his own suggestions?
Yeah, well, this is necessary when, for example, because I write all the vocal melodies, and I prepare everything, the music, the songs, and even working together with Robbie. But at the end, I prepare the songs and create the vocal melodies as well. So Giacomo, being the guy that writes the lyrics, sometimes we have to agree on what is possible to do, because I write melodies based on just musical idea. But when words come in, of course, you have to adjust sometimes. And but basically, all the melodies I do are quite there. We keep them 95% of them are there. So, but working together, it's important for me also because we push each other. We break the limits and boundaries, and we try to do the really better. And we do this with enjoying ourselves.
Sure. Now, you've got a concept for this album. Can you explain the story behind the album?
Well, this is the second chapter of this new Rhapsody of Fire saga. At this time of the story, the hero opens his eyes and realizes the reality around him. I understand that he will have to fight with all his strengths and energies to accomplish all his goals. And there is not a connection with real life or our society, but we like to deliver a metaphor which could eventually drive people to believe more in themselves and make them realize that every one of us is a second chance, but we have to work hard for it. I must say that it's I'm very happy that we are developing that story, and because the combination with the music that we do, the kind of music that we do, so deep, emotional, and complex, works well when it's meant to drive also a story, a saga, message, So,
Sure. And what song do you think took the longest to craft into its final product?
which term? What do you mean?
Like which of the tracks on the album
Tracks.
took the longest to develop?
Well, I don't know, because I took my time to work on the songs. So sometimes I have many songs. I work at many songs in the contemporaneously. I like to jump from song to song, especially when I'm kind of tired and I have to still search for solution, but I'm not sure. Then I just leave this song aside and work on the other one. And I start myself like in a fresh mood, and I say, "Oh wow, I like this piece. I like to go with this thing." It's like having a hands in multiple projects at the same time. It really helps me to be more creative. So I cannot really tell. I probably is the longest one because lengthwise it's more demanding in terms of days, but not in terms of effort, I must say.
Sure. And you talk about the album maybe instilling different things in people, but also, as long as you've been in your career, fans sort of have an expectation of a band to sound a certain way. Do you find it sometimes hard that fans don't want you to naturally evolve and want you to always sound like your first album?
Yes, especially refer to the first album because we are talking about '97. So yeah, I know what you mean. First of all, we have to analyze the kind of music that we do. We do this symphonic, epic film score metal genre, and when you do this, and when you talk about epic stories and heroes, you are really confined in an area. You know, I would never be able to narrate this kind of stories and do hard rock. I mean, it's no way. And at least for me, it works well. The music we do, it really works well with fantasy world, and in a way, we have to um, renovate ourselves using different sounds, different solutions, but we cannot go too far, unfortunately, you know. But I'm happy with that because this is really the environment, the musical environment we love. And said that, we always try to do something fresh, something that is new, that is perceived as something new, as something exciting in a way. And I always think that there is a impossible that is possible to improve in everything I do. So with this approach, I never put myself in a position that, well, I arrived, I'm on the top of the mountain, and now I'm done. I always, impose myself to the next challenge. It must be more difficult, more challenging, etc. So, but I must say that sound-wise, a big part of it is the mix as well. So, in regard of the mix, Sebastian Seb Leverman did something absolutely fantastic. Even compared to the Eight Mountain, Glory for Salvation sounds so much incredibly better. So we have energy, power, definition, clarity, and this is also a very important element that helps the music to sound more modern in a way.
Yeah, with the mixing, I was just about to mention that it feels a little bit more human to me than the last albums I've listened to. There's a little bit more air and space,
Yes,
but
definitely. Yeah.
but also there's a lot more. You feel the power coming through in the songs a lot more from the way he's mixed it. Would you agree?
Yes, totally. I was surprised when he shared with me the very first mix, which was very rough, just to get an idea of what the basic sound could be. He was surprised. He surprised himself as well, you know. So it was really great. I saw, oh my God, this is going to be fantastic.
Yeah,
So it's
and
for a composer, it's incredible. It's fantastic to know that your songs, even for the new or for the next album, those songs will have this kind of mix.
yeah,
It's it's another element that stimulates my creativity. It's incredible. Yeah.
yeah. I will say, like I've spoken to Steve before regarding his band, and he was so almost obsessed with the production of his band. So I can imagine how obsessed he was over this and how much heart he would have put into it. And you can tell it's really
Yeah.
great.
Yes. Yes.
Now, what about your fellow bandmates? Where do you think they shine? Like they shine on every song, but if you had to sort of pick moments where they really surprised you, what would they be?
Well, I know Robbie De Micheli, the guitar player, since we were very young, and actually I met Robbie De Micheli and Luca Turilli at the same time. So we also were playing together in the very first, you know, band that we created. So I know Robbie since forever, and what I love about him is that that he's able to write a lot of guitar riffs that I really like, and he's also a very strong. He has the ability to communicate with people and to talk with people, and this is helps me a lot because I'm not so good at communicating with people. So he works in an environment that he always deals with with people. I work more by myself, alone. I'm more comfortable to do that, so I'm more like a studio guy. And yeah, there's, the list of positive things I can say about him is never ending. Of course, Giacomo, the talent that he has, the vocal, incredible voice he has, and he's also the character, very positive, very friendly, and this is what I really appreciate about anyone in the band. And also Alessandro Sala, Paolo Marchesi is a new drummer. They've been, they help in every way they can, musically and personally. So it's remarkable. It's really a dream come true that this lineup is. We are so close to each other, and most of us are from our own country, yes. So this really creates a stronger bond, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Do you find that the attitude of the people in your band sometimes is more important than the talent, because you need to create on a personal level, not just on a professional level?
Yeah, they're both important, and talent, of course, comes first, but also the personal approach to life, and behavior and character comes first as well. So I was lucky enough, and both Robbie, Alessandro Sala, and Paolo Marchesi, they knew each other musically as well. They played together already in the past. So other than being great musicians, they are good friends, and this is another level, a new whole level for a lineup to be more stable and work together.
Have you put any thought into live performances in 2022?
Yes, we released already 30 dates around Europe. It's a big tour, and we are working on to bring this tour all over the world. Hopefully in Australia as well. Finally, that's a dream of us. There's a conversation that comes up every time, and hopefully with this new album we will be able to fly there. That would be. It's always a dream of mine to fly to Australia. So
Sure.
yeah,
And
we're looking forward to that. January, February, we'll be traveling around Europe, and we are trying to organize more shows in 2022.
and how do you mix the visuals with the music, like on stage, to tell that story?
Well, that's not easy. That we of course we bring the best show we can as far as lights and visuals, and we always use the support of backing tracks to have all the orchestra recording, the choirs with us. It's mandatory for us. We do this since the very first tour, and it pays off because this is part of our sound, part of the band. So I must say that sometimes we play in big venues with big lights and everything, and sometimes we play it in small clubs. But the feeling that you get from the fans is it's about being the same. They are so happy to see the band and to hear the music that they don't care about so much about the visuals. And but of course, having the right production is always a good thing, and we aim for that, of course.
Sure. I want to take you back a little bit. As I said, you've been doing this almost 25 years. If you had to go back now 25 years and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Probably to buy a computer sooner and not wait too long. I was really not happy to having to buy a computer. I didn't want it. I don't know why. I cannot recall why I didn't want it. I was used to work with my keyboards and the sequencer on this keyboard on the cord I have. But yeah, that would be a piece of advice, to buy a good, powerful computer and start learning to do everything there. Yeah, but Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the path I did.
Right. And if you had to pick one song from the new album that you're most looking forward to playing live, only one, what one would it be so far?
Will I be your hero? Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, like 25 years, there's been lots of challenges in your career. What keeps you hungry to drive this band?
It's part of my life. It's it's music. I mean, it's the love for music and the love for new challenges and to do better. It's something that grows by itself. You know, I don't have to do anything. Just as every time I have a new idea, a new uh, stimulus to do new things, and every time I want to, you know, achieve a better quality and a better result. It doesn't matter in what I do. So it's really an approach to life in general, you know, to do the best you can in everything you do. So in music, I have this as well. So we are lucky enough to have a very cool fan base. So in respect of that, we also work hard to make ourselves and our fans happy.
One. And what are you listening to at the moment besides, your new music, which I'm sure you've enjoyed since it's been finished? What else are you listening to?
Oh well, I've listened to Glorious for Salvation for many times. So now it's up to the fans to enjoy it. Well, mainly I listen to music just when I'm training. So if I'm at home, I have to work. So I'm already composing material for the new albums, and generally I don't listen to heavy metal. I have a lot of music I can listen, and normally I listen to soundtracks because it's very generic. It doesn't pollute my brain and my ears, and I don't want to, I want to be more pure as possible in terms of, composition wise. So I tend to not listen music that could eventually influence me in a way, So I listen things that are far away from what I compose. And lately I've been obsessed with the very first Van Halen record, and I just listen to that forever. So I just listen 3-4 records every day when I'm training, when I'm walking down the gym, So it's really something that's so far away that I enjoy, but it doesn't, you know what I mean. As a musician, I have to keep track of what I'm listening.
Oh, what's your favorite song on the first Van Halen album?
Well, I like Atomic Punk. Yeah, but they
Fantastic.
are all incredible. It's really incredible the way that they composed and they create guitars and vocal together are something that for me is still a mystery. So that's why I like to listen to them, because it's like, oh my god, what they
Cool.
did.
And
Yeah,
as we go ahead. Yeah, as we finish up today, any final words for your friends in Australia?
well, I hope to meet them all very soon. And as I said, every year we said we should go to Australia. Robbie told me this the other day. We should go to Australia, and yeah, our agency knows that we are ready to play anywhere in the world, and we are planning to play in abroad, US, Canada, and Latin America, and why not Australia as well. So if the moment and the condition and situation is good, we are ready to go. It doesn't depend on us really, So we hope that we can make this work.
Excellent, Alex. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to hearing all the great feedback next week when the album drops.
Oh yeah, looking forward. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
let's get into it. It's been 10 years since an album. Why was now
Is
the
it?
right time?
The right time, well, quite easily. I mean, the former singer Yachty, he got really sick in with his voice, and so doctors told him, hey, you better stop singing or you lose your voice forever. That was quite 10 years ago. So as a band, you were waiting and waiting. You send him to any doctor you know, didn't help. So that was kind of bad news. And then and at this time, I was quite busy a little bit with Accept and doing a couple of other things. So it took me a couple of years I always was looking for a new singer, because all the people say, oh, please come up with another Victory. And we want to hear another Victory album. But it took me for a couple of years to find the right guy. I tested a couple of ones, didn't work out in the way I wanted to. And then all of a sudden I played a show with Herman Frank, my solo band, festival in Germany. And I entered the venue and all of a sudden I heard this guy singing in there with his own band, The Order. That was Johnny's original band. And I watched the whole set and I said to myself, may holy, that might be the one I'm looking for since years. And I just started talking after his set, after his show, and he was very excited about my plans to come to do Victory again. And so that's the reason why it took us almost 10 years to come up with a new album. But as soon as we had been considered that we want to do the Victory and he's joining the band, I thought to myself, with this guy and with this kind of voice, it might be worth to record some new tunes.
But yeah, it's great that you've gone back with Victory. Now, how long ago did you start writing songs?
Not that. I mean, if you first of all, we wanted to do just some anniversary shows to show all the people that we are back with a new singer. But then, of course, Culture Killed the Native and Temples of Gold, I guess it was 30th anniversary. Wow, what a long time.
It is.
But then COVID, so we did one show, and after a week, COVID showed up, and the lockdown showed up. So there was a forced break, and then I said to myself, "Hey, we wanted to record anyway a new album, so let's start writing some tunes." I already wrote a couple of tunes, and then I said to myself, "Oh, use this time gap and start writing a couple of new songs." So maybe it took us 6, 7, 8 months to prepare them. Nobody was allowed to travel, so I used a lot of WhatsApp, video, Zoom, whatever called media to work with Johnny. And I'm always preparing the songs in my little studio by my own. So I finished all the arrangements, all the guitars, and put my ideas of vocals on top of it. You don't want to listen to it. It sounds different, but it gives the singer at least the idea in which direction I was thinking about writing the song. So it took us a couple of meetings and Zooms in between, and then we decided, okay, we do have enough material. And I forced the band, no, not forced. I said to the boys, if we want to go for a good record, like the rock and roll bands in the older days, which I was used to, let's meet in the studio in Hanover. So they flew in, they entered the studio, and I locked the door.
That's way to be.
So and as I also already prepared the guitars, so we just had to record drums and bass and the vocals on it. But they stayed for 14 days there. Nobody went out. Everybody was tested before. Everybody got tested in between. And we had some guy. We wrote every day a list. Next day, which kind of food you want to have, or which kind of what do you want to drink. And he put it in front of the door. We picked it up.
Yep.
So they didn't have any chance to step out of the studio. Maybe that's the reason why everybody was working really hard, and it was exciting, best time ever since years.
That's great.
Because you felt like a real band,
And
like we called in the old days.
And do you feel that this band dynamic is one of the best you've ever been?
Yeah.
And
I mean, as you can hear on the different tracks on the album, it sounds so fresh and whenever, I mean, we cut the ink counts out, but as soon as there was this noise, 1, 2, 3, 4, everybody was bam exploding.
it does sound a lot more like an actual band in a rehearsal room first than a bunch of guys in different studios, which is nice.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan. It became a kind of modern way that you send files around the world, you know, from continent to continent, from town to town. For me, I started music in the 80s, you know, and that it was common that the band is in the studio.
Yeah.
Because then you can react in the same second. If somebody sings a great line or come up with a totally different idea, you can say, yeah, that's it. We keep this one. Or we skip this one. Let's work on this one again.
Do you think newer bands rely too much on computers rather than rehearsal?
Sure. Yeah, maybe it's true. I heard about this too. So music is meant to stay in one room. Somebody counts into 4 and then try to start to play the song together.
What songs came easiest for you on this record?
Pardon me?
What songs were the easiest to complete?
There's no song is easy. I mean, also I do have to practice them, you know, to perform them in the way you want to record them. But after all the record, if you finish with recording, every song is easy. I mean, it's a different situation if you want to do them live, because then you have to sort out a couple of guitars or leave out a couple of things. That's a different thing then. But to record, I don't find any song very difficult.
Sure. And
otherwise I wouldn't record. Otherwise I wouldn't try to record.
Yeah.
If it's so difficult and I can't play it on guitar, maybe just skip the song. Now, if the singer is not able to sing the vocal line, I mean, you worked on it before, then you have to skip the whole song. It's not worth it.
Were there any songs that were written then and there in the studio, like brand new, or they were all the demos that you've done?
In God Trust, we wrote in the studio, for example. And as I said, I mean, we had been prepared a lot before we entered the studio. Otherwise, we couldn't record the stuff in 14 days. So it was quite clear what we want to go, what we were gonna record for, you know. And then it took us another 2 weeks or 3 weeks to mix the album and sort out a couple of different takes we've done. So all in all, it took us 4 to 5 weeks.
And the production on the album, the songs that I've been listening to, have a bit more of a classic sound than what a lot of albums that are out today. So tell me more about the production side of it.
Actually, that was obvious, or I wanted to do it in this way. I wanted to keep the same space or spirit or the same vibes from the most successful albums of Victory, from Culture, Killed the Native, and Temples of Gold. So we used the natural drums, you know, and not that lot of editing. And I didn't want to do it too much compressed like the modern things. Some bands do. They compress the hell out of every song. And I think music has to be, there has to be some kind of air, some kind of space in the mix or in the music, you know. If you overproduce them, no, that wasn't the style of Victory, and I just want to keep the style of Victory in this way.
And I also noticed with the drums so far, like with the songs I've been listening to now, that they're tight, but there's also that feel of a real drummer laying back a little bit and allowing the drums to breathe. So, you know, I can understand what you're saying. Like the drums are really really great in this mix, and I love hearing when drummers are allowed to play drums properly.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, he's a real, Michael Stein is a real talented guy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chosen him for this album.
Yeah.
And if somebody gets wrong, you know, then just record it one more time.
Yeah.
It's normal. I mean, nobody's a machine. And I don't want to have machines on this thing. I mean, I know a couple of other guys, they just use the electronic drums and the beat detective and stuff like that. And wow, that's not that's not music. Music lives out of I guess out of a little couple of little mistakes you can't hear, obviously, but the people might feel it. And the people always say, oh, I worked as a producer and an engineer a lot of years, and people always say, "Oh, we want to sound like live." Yeah, then play.
Right.
Then don't edit. Then don't use your every kind of tool or any tool you know. Then just play, and that's maybe the secret. You destroy music if you edit everything and use any tool you know. You destroy any spirit or any whatever.
Do you think people forget that music isn't just heard, that it's also felt when it's played by a real band?
That's what it's all about. You just said it. Music is feeling. It's in your chest, it's in your heart, it's in your body, and the most good music is coming out of your guts, you know.
Yeah. What was one of those songs as you finished up in the studio that made the hairs on your arms stand up? You know, what was the one?
This album, probably Mad.
Okay.
I do love this track. I mean, yeah, they put out a couple of different singles, but for me as a musician and a producer, this Mad song was one of the best I've ever done, because it contains this certain kind of feeling in it. And if you close your eyes and listen to it, you can imagine what's going on.
Sure. What kind of guitars were used on the album?
Oh, I always put on 6 strings.
That's good.
Sticks, connect them with an amplifier. No, just kidding. On this album, I'm used by obvious. The old guitars are used in Culture Killed the Native and Temples of God in the early days of Victory. That's a kind of handmade old Duesenberg guitar. A different shape. People love it because it looks a little bit different. But that had been the most used guitar for myself in the older days. So I mostly played the most tracks with this guitar. And then I used my old Heritage Les Paul. And that had been the 2 guitars I'm using. I mean, I easily could have done it with one, but I said to myself, if you put a couple of layer sounds under the rhythm guitars, then it's always good if you use a different guitar for sound and different amp for this. It's better for the mix and better for the sound.
Are you using just regular amps, or have you gone with things like Kempers and a bit more of the newer stuff?
I use in the studio, I use a lot of Kempers, you know, to come up with the idea.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to whistle around with the mics and stuff like that, and it's not that loud. And this Kemper amp just give me. I mean, I profiled my own amps anyway in a good way, so they mostly sound 90 whatever percent the same. Like if I would use the real amp, but just to come up with the idea, and so I just push it on the button and just start recording without fiddling around with any mics or sounds or so. I do have every day or every time I show up in the studio, I do have the same sound. And so for demoing, I use this, and I always record the I signal to it.
Yep.
And the most guitars, they had been then reamped in the studio for the mix. I set up the old cabinet I do have, and I do have a Powerball, angled Powerball. I do have 3 old straight amps, called straight, also angle amps. I used once a PV, a couple of tracks, and so the most I do reamp them.
I really love the artwork for the cover. So, who came up with the concept and who designed the artwork?
Actually, on the artwork, that's me. Yeah.
That's
No.
my album too.
Yeah. No, I came up with the when we decided on the title track, and it sticks in my mind that I mean, Gods of Tomorrow, that shows the cover artwork shows like what it might be in the future. And I worked with this guy, with Kai Swillos. He also worked for the cover artwork for Herman Frank albums. And I know this guy is now for more than 20 years. He's working for Motorhead and Saxon and stuff like that, and for the Wacken people. So he's an old friend of mine. And so we came up with this concept of the album. And but he finished it in a way I never expected it, you know. So
Yeah.
I really do like it and love it. And it combines the title Gods of Tomorrow perfectly.
Yeah, and it reminds me of some of the really great album covers from back like in the 80s and 90s before when album covers were cool.
Yeah. As I said, I wanted to keep the spirit from the 80s, 90s from Victory.
Yeah.
Because that was a time the band was quite successful, and I really loved the way the music had been in these days.
What is the plan for Victory for touring when we start to, get shows back and stuff? Have you got any?
Actually, we got a chance 2 weeks ago to play 3 shows. The only 3 shows that had been left, they had been not canceled. and we did 1 show in Germany, 1 in France, and 1 in Belgium. Went out very great. People get excited. We are planning for a tour or in Europe. End of January we start, but we only hooked up 18 days, because if lockdown comes up, we don't lose that much money.
Yep.
Nobody can tell what's the situation going to be in the next couple of months, because right now the numbers are raising, and again we do have 60,000-70,000 people every day that got sick.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. I mean, how stupid can people be?
Exactly.
I'm sorry to talk about this, but they are ruining my business.
Yep. No, I agree completely.
And it might be so easy to just keep a little bit distance and wear your fucking mask.
Yeah. Exactly
and
right.
Get the vaccination. You know, everybody's. I mean, Germany, everybody's blah blah. And no, it's I have to be free and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Vaccine.
don't want to slip into this discussion, but because of these reasons, you can't tell what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, Victor was booked for a couple of festivals, big festivals, Sweden Rock Festival, Metal Fest, and Bangerhead and stuff. Everything was canceled for years.
Yeah.
And the second, so I'm getting tired of this.
Sure. So if it does come back, do you see? Go ahead.
I mean, we just recorded an album because we want to live, you know. For me, it's nice to record an album, but it's not the same feeling if you go out there and play these songs live and talk to people, have a really nice show, have a crowded club where you can feel the sweat and just have the feeling, the live feeling.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it's all about.
That's okay. And we'll finish up tonight with this is any final words for your friends and fans in Australia?
Hope to see you again. I only got a chance to visit Australia once with Accept, because you guys living on the other side of the world.
Yep.
I'm so sorry about it. We wish to come up down there. Maybe somebody gets us the budget to spend it on some flights.
Excellent. Well, let's hope everyone does the right thing and we see you down here sometime soon.
Thank you so much for taking your time to doing, and I appreciate taking the interview. I just want to say, stay healthy, guys. Don't freak out.
Lovely.
Just listen to your victory album. It's a better way of it.
Exactly. Thanks for your time, Herman.
Bye bye. Take care. Take good care. See you then.
See you.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Sessions presented by Here to Zen magazine. If you are listening to us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. If you are listening on one of the podcast platforms, please subscribe there. And don't forget to follow Here to Zen magazine on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.